Yeah, Andrew, a little help, please. I'm sure he'd figure it out.
I just turned it on again. We'll see. Yeah, I hit it already. There it's on.
There it went.
Yeah, it wasn't on it. I'm in the dark. Well, I do have a backup.
According to the computer, our clocks aren't quite in sync, but I think I'm going to call this meeting to order. According to the computer here, it's a little after 9. And with that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chaplain, if you would, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Bow your heads, please. Father God, I just lift up this community. I lift up this county. I ask for your blessings and I ask for your help. Father, just want to be with those in Plevna and help restore and help renew that community. Father, be with each one of us today as we take on the challenges and build a stronger and greater county. Be with all the workers, be with all the people that come and go and their issues, and help us to just resolve those with your help. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody who's in the audience today for various reasons, and also our electronic audience. I do know people pay attention to that. And our next item on our agenda today is public comment for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who has something they want to speak on? Seeing nobody rising and going to the podium, I think we're down to item 5, determine additions and revisions to our agenda. Is there anyone up here that, or administration, that sees the need to change our agenda change our agenda? Not seeing anything there. Our consent agenda is next. Since there are no changes there, is there any comment by anybody or questions before we entertain a motion? Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented by staff.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't get that.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we vote? No new discussion. Autumn, would you please help us out?
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Motion passed. Business items would be next. 7A, the purchase of a tractor and more.
So, Commissioners, on the agenda, the Sheriff's Office has requested, I know they have a staff meeting right now, so they had gone out to bid for a mower, a tractor and a mower to cover, it would cover the new training facility out at the landfill, the Avenue G property, and the jail facility. Right now they have different mowers, smaller ones, or they're contracting for mowing on some of the properties, but they wanted to be able to do this in-house, get it. They talked with Public Works Director Don Brett and kind of what size and what they would need, and then went out to bid. So the lowest bid that they have that they're requesting is from Schmidt and Sons for the 2019 Kubota MX 5200 tractor, which is $24,750, and then a Land Pride 7-foot rotary cutter bush hog for $4,600. So it'd be $29,350 from Schmidt and Sons for the sheriff's department use. They would be paying for that out of their budget. It would be general fund, the sheriff's department line item 7100, which is for capital improvement or for equipment and machinery, and they have plenty of money in their budget to cover this cost. They would then have staff do the mowing. Right now on Avenue G, I think they pay someone, I forget the dollar amount, they pay someone to come mow. They have some inmate labor, different people at the jail do it, and then I'm not sure how they're mowing right now at the landfill, but this would take care of all that so they could do it in-house.
Okay. So,
It's on, since it wasn't a budgeted item, wasn't a capital budgeted item, it kind of came up. That's why it's on business items instead of consent. They do have the budget to cover it, but if there's any questions.
I do. Does this mean you and Patrick get to mow the courthouse? Okay, I'll shut up now.
No.
Other duties as assigned, right?
Right.
Patrick, it's like my brother used to say when he'd come out and he'd run a little equipment. It's so good to be away from the phone. Sometimes you're just looking, it's what's work to one is pleasure to the other simply because it's something different than you do every day. But enough foolishness.
And commissioners,
But we all got to laugh.
and questions that may have come up if you thought about, we have facilities does mowing on other properties, Public Works takes care of theirs, landfill takes care of theirs. So it's kind of the same. We don't have enough other departments that have the free time to do this anyways. So it's not that we don't have other mowers, but they're also in use taking care of all of our other properties. That's why the sheriff wanted to be able to take care of his own instead of trying to ask or borrow from other departments that are busy and don't have the spare time to take care of the sheriff's office properties.
I appreciate the fact that they've gone out and looked for a used tractor and mower. I do appreciate that. But when I take into account depreciation, I take into account maintenance, what is it going to cost to contract that mowed for a few times a year? I'm wondering if that cost to get that mowed a few times a year is worth it, is worth having that done rather than owning a piece of machinery. It's gonna take maintenance and someone to run it anyway. I question what a lot mowing would cost versus owning. I'd like to see that comparison.
I don't think we didn't look at the contracting piece versus what we're already doing and equipment, bidding out the equipment, but it could be tabled till the next meeting, and I could see if the sheriff's office would get some quotes of what it would be, and then maybe have Sheriff Campbell or Sergeant Van Syke, who had put this on the agenda, come in and answer those questions with more information on what it would cost to contract.
Because you're gonna be paying somebody to mow it anyway. If it's in-house, you're still paying them. And so I'm just wondering what the difference would be, efficiency-wise.
Going down this line, how many times a year do they expect this property to have to be mowed? Is it going to be weekly, 1 or 2 times a year? That would change the thought quite a bit on.
They are out at the shooting range. They are putting grass. So it won't be 1 or 2 times a year, but I don't think weekly. It'll probably be every couple of weeks. The jail, probably the same thing, every couple of weeks at least. And then the Avenue G, I'm not sure on, actually Avenue G, I'm not sure that property would. It's probably less last,
A
at least
question-
monthly.
A question in reading the materials. I noticed that the acreage out there at the shooting range is what, close to 10 acres? 15? No, 15 if I remember the material right.
It was 15 to 20, I think, yeah.
And all of that won't be required to be mowed every week or so.
No, but I can, right now they're doing their own mowing, mostly except the G.
Yeah, they I mean, I think they pay someone a small fee to do it. So it's kind of donated labor and some, I mean, because I know it's pretty cheap what they're paying. But I don't know if that would last a long time. It's someone that may want to help give back to the sheriff's office, but when that stops, it'll cost more.
Well, when I worked at facilities, we mowed Avenue G with our mower from facilities that we use for
Okay.
everything. And that ground out there was so rough, it almost beat that mower to pieces. So it's not meant for small mowers.
Okay.
It's meant for bigger, what they're looking at getting. That being said, they need somebody, whoever's going to do that out there or do it for the sheriffs, it needs to be one or two people that are trained in
And know
how to use that and how to maintain it, not just, drive it willy-nilly and then, like you said, get it damaged where it does have to have some repairs. Maintenance shouldn't be too bad if they do it in-house.
I'm gonna go a different direction. Is this piece of equipment capable of having snow blades on it and that kind of stuff as well to help move snow if they need to do that, those kinds of things? I mean, is it gonna be pretty universal to use? Because that is a big area, but I agree with you, Ron, that I think you could probably mow it for that cost pretty easily per year, less than that with the labor and everything. But if they're going to make this move, then it needs to be a little more universal to use for other things.
It's according to the,
It
yeah,
does have a loader,
it's
okay.
got a
Yeah,
loader
I guess I
and
missed
it's-
that, but
They
yeah.
could
yeah,
probably do more
according
with
to the, if you read the specs on the
Yeah.
tractor,
I guess I
it's
missed it.
set up,
Been
it's
counting
a
while,
general
couple weeks.
use, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. There was only 491 pages this week. So, for those of you who are interested, and there were a few things I caught that really were just explanatory to us that didn't make any difference if they were corrected or not, so I didn't even bother to say anything. The message got conveyed. So
And
I think
Commissioner
people-
Parks, kind of related to that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm certain with the way that Sheriff Campbell partners with other the other departments, that if another department or there was another need for that tractor to help the county, he's not the type that would say, no, that's my tractor, we're not going to help if we had it in-house or needed it somewhere else.
Well, guys, any more discussion? We've got two trends of thought here. I guess we're to a point where if there's no more discussion, we need to either, as was possibly suggested, move it back till next meeting, or go ahead and give the sheriff and his people what they've asked for in this possible purchase.
Is the bid good for a couple weeks? I didn't check that out good enough.
Yeah, that wasn't something I looked at right away.
While you're looking that up, there are some things that I like about how the county normally does business. We generally generally and genuinely try to do business with the local Reno County businesses, and I appreciate the fact that when I read through all the quotes, they were all Reno County businesses that had the opportunity here and took advantage of at least making a bid. And I do appreciate that. If we don't help our neighbors, who will?
Commissioners, there's on the bid, there's no guarantee for a certain amount of time. They just have that, they do have that tractor in stock. So there's not a
Unless
30-day,
they sell it.
60-day. If they sell it, it's not available.
And it's considerably less than the other bids from what I read, considerably. So, it's your choice, guys.
So my question would be, who would do the maintenance on it? Would it be our, car and vehicle maintenance department?
Yeah, we would take care of it in-house as much as
In-house,
possible.
Okay. Well, and like at facilities that we sharpen our own blades, and I'm sure the other places do too. So if they do that, then, and change them out and things for the sheriffs, whoever's driving them and stuff.
Right.
Then that shouldn't need that much maintenance, I wouldn't think, oil changes and things like that.
There's always cost, but I know
Yeah.
yesterday when I was talking to Sergeant Van Syke, I think he was going to be doing the mowing, but maintenance, we would take care of that in-house as much as possible. There's some things we may not be able to do, but as much as possible.
I would say that with a loader on the tractor and the starters where it's at, transmission, 3-point hitch, all of those would have to be done by somebody probably outside of us. We'd have to do for the most part. Anytime something else happens, sharpening, that's no big deal. But when it comes time to actual maintenance, when something goes wrong, that's a whole different story, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and well, it's no different than items we have with other places. You read where the checks go, it's, you buy the parts and stuff from who sells it. And a lot of maintenance, we okay checks every day, so, I mean, I assume it'll be handled the same.
And Commissioners, some of the maintenance can also be done at Public Works. They take care of tractors. I know Don Brennan has reached out to me that they would also help with maintenance.
Okay, so there's a sharing there.
Until we find out what it's gonna cost to get it contract mode, I would prefer to table this decision until next meeting. So I would move to table it till next meeting.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further conversation before we vote?
Not for me.
All righty. Autumn, help us out.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes,
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Okay, so we've tabled this till next to get more information. 7B, Arlington EMS Station bids. Morning, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Dave Johnston, Reno County EMS with the Hutchinson Regional Medical Center. Just wanted to provide an update on Station 3 out at Arlington. In your packet was a short letter from me and enclosed along with the bids that we received on the project. Thus far, we have purchased the land out on Fair Street in Arlington. We've contracted with Landmark Architects. They've put together all the plans for that. The link for that is enclosed or is in that email you're able to view. And we've gone out to bid for it. The bids were received towards the end of May. Ward Davis submitted the most competitive bid on that. As you look at the overall cost for that bid, their bid came in just a hair under $700,000. In December of last year, there was a cap put on the project by commission. And as we put together our running cost along with the bid from them, we are just about $24,000 over that cap. So I wanted to bring this to the commission to discuss with you, see what questions you have, and ultimately I would like to request your approval, so the contract, the hospital can go ahead and contract with Ward Davis to move this project along. Ward Davis indicated that they could begin as early as July on this project. So I'll stand for any questions you might have.
I think it's really good. I'm glad to see this project going, and so will the folks in western Reno County. Thank you, Dave, for all the work you did. I just wanted to inquire a little bit to make sure, like Commissioner or Chairman said, that we made sure we got as many local bids, and I'm sure Ward will take care of that, but as many local bids as possible, regardless, you know, that you got to keep it costs down, but at least they had an opportunity to provide some bids on the interior.
Yep. So.
Question I'd have, Dave, was there anything in particular that shoved it over the original thought?
The original cost.
Yes.
Well, ultimately things came back higher. You know, ultimately there's been a change in the costs for building materials, metal in particular. With that, it's driven the cost up. There are some things that were unexpected to us. I'll be honest with you, the land survey and geo surveying came back higher than we ever anticipated on that, but we've been reassured that it's necessary at that point. And I think the other part with this is, if you've seen the site out there, the demo, there's quite a bit of detail in how the demolition and prepping that site's going to be. So I think those are things that contributed to the cost.
As far as those studies, my attorneys told me years ago, you don't want to buy a problem.
Yeah.
Because it comes down to they don't care who caused it, what happened. The controlling agencies, they care about whose name's on the title. So, I mean, yeah, you need to do those studies to protect yourself, protect the county. So I can see that, and I know those are getting higher priced, but I was just kind of wondering where the overruns were, and I know what's happened to metal prices. I'm in the middle of the deal right now.
I will say that the overall project, the size came in at about 2,600 square feet for the project out there, and if we price this out with all of the costs thus far, it's around the neighborhood of $279 per square feet. And our initial estimates were coming back 300 plus on this. So we've been able to keep it down some, and we've tried to be very diligent in some of the materials we're selecting with it, but make it a livable, useful station that's going to last.
Yeah, you don't want to, you got to have something that's going to serve the county for a long time. You can fall too far the other way too. Any other thoughts? Well, we have Dave up there and
All right. Thank you for your consideration.
hearing none. Any discussion before we move into doing something about this?
I think we've got good people to do a good project. I would like to see architectural fees come down to 5% rather than 7%.
Yes, I've seen where sometimes architectural fees are padded a bit. I'm not saying anything like that happened, but in other things in the past. But I think we're in the world we're living in. There isn't a lot of changes. I think everything's going up in price, and if I read the numbers right, this bid is better than the others by a long shot. And the longer we wait, I mean, unfortunately, that's the way it's going.
I'll
So,
take care of this. I'll move to approve the bid of 700 and
I was going to if he did.
presented, or the bid presented by Mr. Johnson with Ward Davis as a builder.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we?
I just think it's going to be a great addition, like you were saying, to Western Reno County, because it can be scary if you're having an accident on a farm and you need to get service right away. So I think that's going to be a great addition.
Yes. All right. Nothing further to be said. Help us out on them.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Well, that's one we don't have to come back to. Good to see Davis and Davis in the audience today. Well, that's one way to learn the trade. Step behind Dad. 7D, our next item on the, no, on 7C. I marked it off before we came to it.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kyle Stewart, Director of Facilities for Reno County. So I'm bringing you today a project for a storage building for emergency management located on G Street. So if you've read through the packets, we went out to sealed bid at the beginning of May for this project. Upon the 30th of May is when the sealed bids came down. We received one sealed bid from Richardson Brothers Construction for this project. As you can see there, the original bid came in at $386,980. So if you compile that along with our surveying and permitting and then some zoning requirements that the city is going to mandate us adhere by, that would have brought the overall project cost in excess of $400,000. At this point, I worked with John Richardson in value engineering this project down a little bit, kind of getting rid of all the additional costs that weren't absolutely necessary for this project. So originally, this project had a half bathroom slated in it, had full insulated garage doors. We stripped all of that out. So it's just a metal building on a concrete pad with some electrical to operate garage doors and openers. So upon that, we had a reduction of about $29,000 once we got rid of all the non-essentials for this building. Anybody have any questions?
Just have one.
Sure.
Since there's no charge to using AB3, which I'll leave it up to you and the engineers to decide which one's the best, but
Right.
AB3 is an awful good base.
Yeah, it's kind of tomato, depending on who you speak to, depends on what they recommend, but I think both options are more than sufficient for this project and essentially holding the weight of that Homeland Security asset. So that is a massive reason for the concrete thickness of the project, the specialized foundation, to be able to sustain the weights of the trailer
You bet.
for that, so.
I appreciate that you kept it still gable.
Thank you. We really want this building to last, 70 plus years. In my opinion, this is the way we achieve that. So overall, with sorry about that, John Richardson's bid, then
One has a little more hair than the other. You can tell them apart.
the $7,000 for surveying and permitting is a quoted bid price from Garber Surveying, so that cost is static. The zoning requirements I listed at $14,850. That is the only bid I've received so far. I'm still working on trying to get that cost reduction down some more. So since it is now an I-1 city zoned, we're gonna have to put a privacy slat fence around the entire property. So the fence is already there. We just need to put those slats kind of in the chain link.
So the zoning was changed?
Correct, yeah. On May 13th, the city approved the zone change to allow construction of this building.
I think where it was good enough to have an open fence around it to start with, that I think it's kind of ridiculous that the city would require us to put in another
Gonna hide a pretty building.
20,000 just to hide a building, yeah, which is, there's already one out there. I just absolutely do not understand that concept.
I agree with you. However, prior to this project beginning, that property was owned R6. And the building that was there was grandfathered in with the zoning changes. To allow construction of another building, we had to change it to I1, light industrial use. Whenever the city approves a zone change, then you must get the property up to code with the current zone rules, regulations.
I don't know, maybe it's something we need to look at location. If we have to spend all this extra money for things, I question what, I'm just bringing that up.
Yeah, so I had the same question about 3 months ago before this project really got rolling. Because due to it being inside the city limits, it's located in a floodplain. If there was a better location, and I was told that really that's the only spot for it currently, that we currently own, property-wise.
Without going out and buying new property.
I only had one question on building design. You reduced some of the garage door integrity possibly. Is that a big deal for security?
Integrity as in what?
As far as breaking in?
So the garage door will remain the same.
Well, it's uninsulated. If you've got a dual panel, it's a little less integrity in the door. It's not quite as heavy. Is that true?
That would be correct, yeah.
Well, I've had garage doors just pulled open before.
Right, from an
the
insulation
bottom.
perspective, yes. But this facility is behind a locked gate, so it's not a public access into there.
Yeah.
So
Theoretically,
that is correct.
that only keeps honest people out. Yeah.
Right.
Wherever you are.
Yes.
So,
I kind of apologize for not thinking about this earlier when I saw this, but there's probably not any room at all out there at the Public Works Department.
Not really the current property. I mean, without buying property directly south of Public Works facility. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
any other questions, guys? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Well, I'll motion to go forward and accept the bid as proposed.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we vote, any further discussion? Seeing none, you're up again, Autumn.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
We need a building, yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, moving to. Yes.
Sergeant Van Sykes here. Going back to a previous where you tabled it, he was going to answer some questions about the mower.
Good idea.
Just
Good
before we get
idea.
into the other items.
Then we'll get it taken care of. We've got a busy month all month long. Thank you, Dad.
Morning, Commissioners. Sorry I wasn't here sooner. I'm also sitting in a Zoom training class, and so I'm multitasking, and I got over here a little bit late. But I understand you guys had some questions about its use. It is not just for mowing. You got to remember, at their property, we have a 75-car parking lot that is crushed concrete, along with all of our roads, which are also crushed concrete. Those also have to be maintained. We already own a box blade and some other equipment to help with that. We just don't have the tractor to assist with maintaining our roads and parking lot out there also. Along with that, I know you mentioned snow removal. We do train 365 days a year. It doesn't matter what the weather is. It could be raining, it could be snowing. So we also have to have a way to maintain and get snow removed from sidewalks. And the concrete pad out there, the big one, is over 110 foot wide and 35 yards deep. So we don't have any other way to remove snow from that type of area. And along with that, there's going to be constant upgrades and maintenance and other aspects to the facility that are going to get added over time. And that's all through our labor and us doing the projects to make it what we need. And so we also need the tools in order to be able to put in pipes or fences or whatever it is that we're building out there. And currently it's just our hand labor, which makes it a little bit more difficult to get some of the bigger jobs done. So I wanted to answer those things for you so that you realize it's not just a mowing.
So in other words, we're getting equipment that you guys are gonna be using to save us quite a bit of money, and yet had we farmed those projects out or taken them out to bid, because they're being done in-house by you guys.
Currently, the landfill has helped us out a lot. Public Works is helping us out a lot.
Sure.
But they don't always have the time to come down and help us, and we can't expect them to keep that type of maintenance going forever.
Well, we've saved a ton of money on other stuff out there by doing stuff in-house, and I think it's a great idea. I really was leaning towards wanting you to have this, but it got tabled. Is that something we can remotion?
Yeah, it's your meeting. You can take it up now if you'd like to.
I mean, I'd like to remotion if that's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, that we
Yeah,
accept the bid as proposed, because I seen multi-use for it, and I figured you'd probably be using it for the parking lot as well and some of those things, so.
Well, but due diligence, thanks for coming over and making everything clear.
Not,
Now-
not a problem. I apologize I didn't make it over sooner, but
No,
No, you're
I
busy.
mean, you're not being hired around here to stand still. You were doing your job.
yes, sir.
There's nothing wrong with that, as far as I'm concerned. Any other comments while we, Mr. Van?
I don't have any trouble with bringing that up again. Main thing I was just noticing was we were just talking about mowing, okay? And I knew that you had a loader, but I didn't know you had other equipment that you could utilize. And I just wanted to make sure we were doing the most economical way. And I understand, I appreciate the further information you gave us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. I think you'll remain a few minutes if we got a question, or can you, or you
Yeah,
need to
I can
be
hang out a
back
couple
on your,
minutes.
this shouldn't take long.
I'll make that motion if everybody's done.
Do we have to do anything?
We'll have to take that off the table, don't we?
You would, I mean, technically, you would make a motion to untable it, I guess, just for the
That's-
record.
That was
and
gonna
then-
be my question, if
yeah.
we gotta do something special. I think we got a consensus of what we wanna do, it's just doing it legally.
Well, I'll move to take the motion to table this item 7, whatever it is, off the table.
7C,
Put it back on the table.
7A.
Take it off.
You second.
I'll second it.
We got a move in a second. Now, does that sound like what we need?
Yeah, I believe you made a motion to bring it, to add it back into the agenda, removing the table, and so now you're gonna vote to do that, and then you'll look for a motion to actually.
Actually do it. All right. We're to this point and we're time for a vote, right? We
Yes.
got a move in a second. Listen, show of hands. Yes. All right. Apparently there's no no's. Everybody voted yes. So at this point, we'll need a motion to go
Either
forward.
approve it or not.
Approve the purchase of this.
I'll make that motion to approve the purchase of that 2019 Kubota with the 7-foot rotary cutter as presented by the Sheriff's Department.
Got a second here?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. I'd say we've talked about it. If there isn't any further discussion, it's time to vote. Autumn, help us, please.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. Motion passes. So, thanks, appreciate it. Okay, that would put us down here at 7D now, after taking care of that. And that's a request for qualifications for the health department renovations. Who do we have here to speak on that?
That's me.
That's our administrator.
Right. So, in May, we went out to, put out a request for qualifications for architect services to kind of start a construction management at risk process with the architectural services for future renovations of the health department building. Once EMS has been moved to their Fifth Avenue location sometime next year, that frees up space in the health department. And we've been talking about for the past couple of years, when there was a space study done by an architectural firm, that was an area we looked at expanding and modifying the health department. They have a budget, well, not a budget, they have a fund, a capital outlay fund, a reserve fund of a little over $1 million right now. Don't think that's going to be the total cost, but to start the process, we need an architect. So when we went out for qualifications, the process, there were 8 companies that are listed here that sent information proposals back. And I think it was a little over 200 pages. I don't know if you had a chance to read through those. Looking at those, at least from my perspective, none of them stood out more than the others. They're all qualified for the service. The next step, my recommendation is for the commission to approve a committee, a small committee, to read through all these and then schedule interviews. Interview probably up to 8 of the companies and bring back a recommendation to the commission, probably at a meeting in July or early August. The committee that I would recommend would be one or 2 commissioners, 2 if you guys are available, and then Facilities Director Kyle Stewart, Health Department Director Carla Nichols, and then myself to sit in on this and go through the process. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring this to you guys today, to show you that we had a lot of interest from architects, and there's one from Hutchinson, multiple from Wichita, Topeka, Kansas City. That's kind of where they're all from. So
I guess my question would be, so you're looking for volunteers for your committee?
I want approval for the committee to be put together and have the, I guess, authority to contact all these companies and go through the interview process and then bring back you guys a formal recommendation of who to go with. But yes, then I would want 2 commissioners if possible, at least one of you.
Well, so at this point, we would need a motion to okay for you to go ahead and put together this committee and start down this line, finding the architect that they feel would best serve the county.
Well, I mean, you could possibly do it with consensus, but I think it would be nice to have a motion, actually. I mean,
That does make it more formal.
The last time we selected an architect company to represent us, we did exactly the same thing, and it worked pretty well. Is that there was enough input from different people involved in the project, in the potential project, that I thought it went really well. So I would move to establish a committee to review and recommend an architectural firm for the design of the interior of the potential reuse of the old EMS building for use by the health department.
maybe you just want to, perhaps you just want to form the committee and then have that discussion second.
Yeah,
Is there a second there?
I'll second that.
I think two commissioners is a good idea. We had 2 last time, and it worked well.
Okay. Any comments? We have a motion and a second at this point. So any comments?
So when you're doing the interview process, how long are those interviews usually going?
Probably 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Because they'll do a presentation and then we'll answer questions. And it really depends on how detailed they are, and it may be longer. I mean,
Well,
it depends on the questions, but
Well,
it
if
could
I'm
be
gonna
up to an hour.
volunteer to be on the committee, I would like to just kind of get an
I
idea.
would say at least an hour for each interview, and if
Okay.
there's 8, we won't do them all in one day.
Yeah, okay.
Your mind will be so scrambled. At least mine would. And I wouldn't know who went with what.
I would probably say a minimum of 30 minutes, wouldn't you?
At the very least, yes.
The purpose of the RFQ is just to give, for the designer to give you as much information, and so they're gonna wanna tell you all sorts of things about why you should hire them, so it'll take them, and you know, it's a good process to go through. By doing the RFQ, you get to see what all the options are and not just based on marketing or something else. So it's a
Well-
good process, but it's gonna take you some time.
And you've got some companies that specialize in remodeling and other companies that want new. I mean, it's just, people fall into categories in their businesses.
So do we need to pick a couple of people right now then to add on there?
I would prefer if you did appoint the 2 commissioners now, so we can go ahead and start scheduling.
Well, I don't know who the other one is, but I'm gonna ask if Richard would be interested in doing that. I think I sat on one of those, and I agree with you, Commissioner Hurst, that worked pretty well. A lot of good information to bring back to the board that way, so.
Well, as far, I've done some work, you know, that I would prefer not to be on it because I haven't did a lot of building lately. There's some guys on this committee that I feel are closer to and
Quit looking over here.
have been,
I may or may not be available, so that's all I can tell you. We may have to look for an alternate, but I could say at this time, yes, I'd probably help do that if you want me to.
well, I mean,
Well, I have ideas of what, because I've been in that apartment
Well-
lot over the last 35 years, so.
well, and that's the other thing. I think your committee you suggested on the other end, you definitely don't want to leave out the people who are using the building and know what's needed for them in talking to the architects and setting something up or getting your architectural firm. Oftentimes, you need that kind of diversity, and I think you've got a pretty good idea in mind. So now we have do we include the 2 commissioners in this motion, or do we do that separately?
Well, you had the motion on the table. I was thinking you just do it in 2 parts.
Okay.
So, and I would just want the microphone, you know, if you do if the commissioners that get appointed have scheduling conflicts, it's not that big, it's not a complicated process to switch them, so.
All right. So with that, we have a motion in place and a second. It's time to vote, right? Autumn, help us out, please.
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes,
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
Yes. And then to bring this to a close from our end, we need to appoint the commissioners. Or
I
do
don't
we
think-
do that another day?
I don't believe you need a motion. I think if, at this point, we're gonna plan on the 2 commissioners that have volunteered, and if that didn't work out, we'd make a different plan.
Good enough. If we don't need anything further, good deal. Okay. Our final item on business is discussion of a sales tax survey services by Wichita State University. Any comments, guys?
And commissioners, just so you know, this is my item, so if you want to ask me the questions.
Okay, open it up and tell us what you're thinking.
This is a discussion of, well, as the sales tax survey, this was brought to the county a couple months ago, and I know I've mentioned it in my weekly reports to the commissioners. As the city of Hutchinson and Reno County talked in February about about preparing for a possible sales tax, countywide sales tax, whether it's a 1/2 cent or 1 cent, and for staff to kind of look at what that would entail, start the process knowing that for a countywide sales tax, we would have to get legislative approval next session in 2026 to have an additional sales tax because the county already has the maximum 1 cent sales tax. Any additional amount needs legislative approval. But in the meantime, Wichita State, they've done this for a couple cities. City of Derby, I think they are working on for the city of Mays, or they did one for the city of Mays, city of Abilene. What they do is some surveys to kind of go out and talk to voters, to find out from voters what they're willing, if they would even be willing to pass a sales tax, and what those topics, what their priorities, the tax structure, kind of get a good understanding of what voters in Reno County feel about a countywide sales tax, and what items that would be on that sales tax. So, depending on what items the commissioners would want to ask the voters to see if those are things they would even want to see a sales tax pay for. The thought is spending this amount, let me see. The cost for the survey is $26,740. It takes about 5 months to go through the process. So if you did it, we'd be done by the end of the year, hopefully. But that would give the commission, the county, and the city of Hutchinson also a better understanding of what's a realistic sales tax before spending the time up in the legislature, putting it on the ballot, and going out and educating voters the amount of time and money it's going to take if we're asking for something that the voters don't want. So that's kind of why this is being presented and recommended.
This is a split expense between us somewhat? Are we footing the bill for all of it?
At this point, it's the county's costs.
Well, I know I've been pushing for this for some time with you, and so I kind of support this, but in lieu of, because we've talked on our portion of it, we could take out of budget economic development, perhaps have more money to do more good, and at least put it back in the people's hands to do this. I think that's the whole point for those that are listening. We're not trying to add tax, we're trying to add value to the county, so.
Right, because it could be there's a lot of economic
Well,
development
we would
things
do
that we
that
have out
with
of property taxes, but then also some of the sales tax could go into the general fund to help offset other property tax, the
So
mill levy.
how would that impact so you can speak to that, the sales tax we currently have? I know some things we spoke of late have sunsetted, and I mean, do we have some things that have fell off city county that, or at least city-wise, that would help not impact the going up too much? I mean, there was a lot of controversy over the mall, even though it's just mall tax, but people just kind of blew up over that. So I think it's good to find out what their thoughts are.
Right.
on
Right. The city of Hutchinson has various the community improvement districts. They have different sales taxes depending on location. But I don't know if they have any going off right now. I think there was one that may have left
Well, that's
last
my big,
year,
my
or
big,
it's coming off this year. There's a small percent one. I think that
that is
forget the
falling off.
percentage that will.
Okay.
In talking with Pretty Prairie, they have one that would be going off. If the county passed one, they may not renew theirs. They have one that's getting ready to sunset. So,
Yeah.
but the county doesn't have one. Our 1 cent that goes into the general fund does not have a sunset. Any sales tax that obviously that's a county commission decision, but any recommended sales tax for the future probably would have some
Well, I know
kind of
they were in
sunset.
they were on the Cosmosphere that got that 0.25%, whatever it was for repairs and things around the city. Is that something they're open to? Because this will generate more money probably, to letting some of that go in the future if it does, just to help folks. Have you had that conversation?
No, that would be
Enrique and
a future discussion with the city once we kind of know if we know what the voters,
Yeah.
what kind of things they would and would not want to see
Well, I think
paid
we
for
have
with the sales tax.
I think we have to know too, because you got a huge issue coming up on the school system that I think is going to be monumental, and whatever happens there. So we don't want to overburden people either. So
And this sales tax would probably be, if approved in the legislative approval, wouldn't be until probably August or November of 2026. And then it wouldn't go into effect for at least a quarter, 3 months after that, after it's passed, if it's passed.
But that's all in the future. We're
That's in the
talking
future.
about
This is,
hiring a firm to decide or help to decide where the money's going and what the people will tolerate it
Right.
being spent on, and
yes.
Well, I know person sitting next to me, we had a discussion, or there was a discussion last night. We talked about informing the public on some things last night, but this would be another one of those examples where if we are raising the our sales tax, that the public does know where it's going. So I think having Wichita State do this study would be a good addition to letting us know, what they think. People want services or want things done, then we got to let them know where this money's going. So,
Right. And this would be, and the survey would be of registered voters. I know there's other surveys that the community has done over the past couple years and still doing one right now, but this one is really focused on registered voters of Reno County. So in the city of Hutchinson and countywide.
But so far, we would be making the commitment to finance this, the county. There's no help offered anywhere else.
Not at this point.
Even though they will receive benefits from it.
Right, because until knowing whether this was would be approved, it's kind of hard to ask for too much money from other entities. Now, doesn't mean that I won't see if maybe other cities would be willing, even if it's a small amount, to help kind of offset some of the costs, but the recommendation would be to move forward with the county taking this burden on and then asking other cities if they would help, but we still already have the contract. If we keep waiting as this process, if the commission's wanting to do this or willing to, it's a 5-month process. So the longer we wait, we're then going to be in the legislative session next year and not have a ballot question ready to go. And we taking it to the state, we would have to let them know what the percentage of sales tax is and kind of the general purpose is what they'll want to see.
I'm going to have a little fun with this, but somebody needs to tell Wichita State that we have 16 incorporated counties or cities in the county. Okay, I bet they missed Highland. What do you bet? and also, I think we need to know this, but I want to in my opinion, that it's a not to exceed this number. That I didn't think it was in our best interest financially to dedicate, if we want any additional work done for this, at that $175 an hour. I think it needs to be. I think the county should pick it up for the whole county because it affects the whole county. But I think it needs to cap it at some point in time, dollar-wise.
Any further comments? Hearing and seeing none. Time for a motion.
I'd motion to approve letting Wichita State do this survey.
I'll second it.
What, I might ask, I'll wait. I guess I can ask now.
We have
That's coming out of what fund?
It'll be the general fund for professional services.
Okay.
It's not going to be out of the economic development
Yeah,
line item.
that's what
It'll be out of a different general fund line item.
Okay.
I just bring back the fact that I want to see I don't want to see any additional things out of this to where it comes up with more money than what they tell me, okay?
Well,
If we need extra work done, then we'll renegotiate.
so the motion as stands is for this body of work, for this price. Anything above that, so we're all understanding before we vote, anything above that must come back for reapproval or for an approval. It won't be a reapproval
Yes.
because we're not approving it now.
Yes, I would.
Sorry.
I would stand with that. Yeah.
Okay, so we all understand what we're doing here. And with that, we have a motion and a second, and we've been discussing. Is there any further discussion before a vote? Seeing none, Autumn, can you help us out?
Commissioner Parks?
Yes.
Commissioner Winger?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner?
I'll say yes, simply because I want the people to have the authority to vote on it eventually. Not because I just like to spend that kind of money. But it should be in the people's hands, and they should understand rather than. So that was why the yes vote on my part. County Administrator reports, number 8. We're moving along.
In your packet is the monthly reports for aging, public transit, appraiser, automotive clerk, community corrections, communications, district attorney, and facilities. Any questions on anything in their monthly reports? All right, other items I have, I just wanted to, you probably got an email yesterday. Quad County is July 28th in Butler County. Just a reminder to start thinking of whether you want to go, and then let Shonda or myself know so we can RSVP for you.
Well,
They don't have the location or the topic, but it's somewhere in Butler County on that day.
put me down. I wrote it on my calendar. I was going to either call on myself or, since you're putting it together. I think those are very important meetings to attend, so we kind of know what our colleagues in other counties are doing and how they're moving forward. Because usually if they run into a problem, we're in the same business. We eventually get the same problem. So it's worthy of the time, I think, personally.
Okay.
Anything further?
And then just a reminder, the KNRC on July 10th. If any of you are, I think any of you are attending, let me know so I can, if we have more than 2 of you, we will let the public know it's a public meeting.
What was it again? I'm sorry.
That's the conservation district and all the stuff on the water proposals and essentially it's more about certain government departments overreaching their powers.
July 10th, it's in St. John at the Stafford County Annex. I believe it's 10 a.m. till sometime in the afternoon.
Yeah. And I've already spoke to you. I want to attend that one.
Right.
And there's
And they want to know RSVP, so if you can either reply to their email or let me know, preferably let me know so that
you can get the rest of it, like if there's more than one.
if
or
there's more than 2 of you.
Yeah, well,
So-
count me in.
Okay, so I know we have
That's
at least,
another
at
one
least
I've
2
got
of you
on my
then.
calendar.
Okay. And then I think
Because-
Patrick,
I'll
you'll be
there. Yeah,
you'll be
I'm
attending.
going to attend that too.
I'm, you know, that's some very important stuff that affects our county by government entities that have a lot of sway. That should have never went as far as it did. There was a compromise everybody was going forward with, and then a third party jumped in and started suing, and now we've got people losing, with the possibility of losing water rights, losing land to eminent domain by certain, that if certain government entities have been doing these kind of things for too long, and one of the best things we've done on this board since I've been here is to become a member of that organization.
I've been listening to their updates, and I think the Kansas Natural Resource Coalition has been doing a really good job with it. So, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how things go on the 10th.
Yeah, it's a good place for the county and the citizens' protection.
The other item I have, one other item, just bringing it to your attention. There was a press release from the city of Hutchinson last week about fireworks sales, that they now allow fireworks sales, I believe, from June 20th through July 7th in the city of Hutchinson. The shooting of fireworks is still June 30th to July 4th. The county's current resolution for sales is June 30th through July 4th. I checked with Jenna, the county clerk, last week. There was no one that had applied for a permit to sell fireworks for the county, at the county level, unincorporated portions at this point. Wanted to bring it to your attention. Of course, that's not much time for anyone to prepare to put up a tent, to sell fireworks, but didn't know if you guys had any interest in putting a resolution together to match what the city of Hutchinson has. I don't know what city of South Hutchinson has, or leave it alone and have it still June 30th through July 4th.
Well, if nobody outside this, out in the county itself has requested anything and hasn't in the past, why would we even bother?
I think some years there have been people that have, for whatever reason, used spots that are that are in the county but outside of state limits. So it doesn't seem like there might be one this year, but some people have. The question was if somebody wanted to set up a sales stand outside the county limit, outside the state limits, they would have a shorter window for sales.
Yeah.
And it just whether or not you guys wanted to let them sell longer in the county.
I personally, because I've connected to this a little bit, would prefer to match up with the city. I think we should.
Well, and then there wouldn't be any question either.
No, it'd be straight across the board that way.
Well, that's kind of my thought too, because you may, like you say, be inhibited somebody's opportunity. A lot of charitable organizations are the ones that do it, so you're limiting them. Unfortunately, the county ends up picking up what they don't pick up on the charitable end of things.
Yeah, we were matched up in the past until this change, and in part because there's a lot of confusion about the topic.
Well, and there's been a lot of topic about us as making it year-round sales in the state as well from the state part of it. So it's bound to change a little more in the future, maybe.
Yeah, the state law has to do with it doesn't apply to tent-based sales, which are still
Right.
limited, but and most of our sales, most of them are still tent. Anyway, I always joke that fireworks is a topic the public's very interested in, so I just wanted to see what you guys thought. We can present the resolution we did in 2023 has worked really well for other topics, so we would just redo it with a different date, basically, is what we'd propose next meeting, if that sounds like what you guys want to see.
Well, you have the resolution.
Well, yeah, actually, I did write it. I do have it written that way.
Patrick had provided earlier
A
this week
sample.
resolutions to prepare in case you guys wanted to authorize one today, knowing that our next meeting's the 25th. Unless, I guess on the 18th, we could, it's a budget session, we could make it a normal meeting and have one item, but other than that, it would be to approve a resolution that Patrick has already drafted or wait till the June 25th.
Well, in terms of drafting, it was just changing the dates from our current 2023-12. So it was not a monumental effort. But if you wanted to, we could. If you wanted to make, I don't know what number that resolution would be, but it would be just matching the dates of the city of Hutchinson.
Personally, I'd be okay with that, because if we're going to do it, and the reason we're doing it is to give equal time to people who, it needs to be done today, and since Patrick's looked forward and done this for us,
Well,
I would be.
I know it's
fine with
increased
it.
the sales of the ones that I talked to too, the stands, and the longer they can sell, the more we're going to make, and we're going to see that come back. So in some form or another.
So, if it's all right with the rest of you, we've talked about it a little bit. If you want to further discuss, fine. But if not, if you've got in your mind what you want to do, I'd say let's get a motion and.
Well, I'd motion that, but I don't know what I'm motioning yet. I mean, the revision of dates, but is there a number I need to throw out here legally?
I read it. Do you?
You got something I can read?
Trying to think of this. I mean, have a resolution. What will the number be for next week?
I think it should be 14.
Okay, so 2025-14 would be a resolution regulating the sale and the use and storage of fireworks from Reno County, Kansas, and repealing Reno County Resolution 2023-12.
Yeah, and modifying the dates for that, so.
All it will do is just, it repeals 2023 is what it says, but really what it does is just modify certain dates.
Right.
Everything else that we can do with this.
Well, and I I'd make that motion to the 2025-14 that we modify the dates in the current resolution for fireworks sales.
Do I see a second? Well, I
I'll
do
second
see a
it.
second. We've talked it enough for a vote, or you want to say something yet? All right, it's vote time. Thank you, Autumn.
Commissioner Parks,
Yes.
Commissioner Winger,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurst,
Yes.
Commissioner Bogner.
Yes. Any further items over there on the administration desk that we need to discuss? Seeing none. County Commission reports. I think we started down here last week. Richard, you're up. Our last meeting.
Right. So I got invited to the elevated experience with the Hutch Regional's 50th birthday. And they had a dinner on Friday night, and then Saturday they had the event out by the regional medical center.
You ain't got no mic on.
Oops, sorry. Anyway, it was excellent meal, but I brought this in. This was the menu, but also on the back it had some of the local producers in Reno County that supplied this menu. And so it's like I said, it's a who's who of farmers and businesses around Reno County. Bontrager Dairy, Smith's Market, Don's Produce, Grassroots Beef. And we had, so just to give you an idea, we had like a bread and cheese tray that was phenomenal. The salad was great, but they had like, so sliced ribeye and Casey strips was the main entree. They had a bourbon cherry pork sausage that was melt in your mouth. So anyway, but I just wanted you guys to know that, and then it was a celebration, but it was also a recruiting event. And the Regional Medical Center, they have a list almost a mile long of doctors that they're trying to get to come to Reno County and the Regional Medical Center. And so we asked about a certain, profession, and that's on their wish list. They weren't one of the doctors that was there, but they were on the wish list. Anyway, but it was a great time. We took our grandkids Saturday night for the fun, bouncy houses and stuff, but they had a live band and other things going on. So that being said, they also gave out these Hutch 2025 visitor guides. So I don't know if you guys have one, or if you don't, you need to get one. This thing is produced very well, and it lists a lot of businesses in Reno County. It talks about other cities. You were talking about, incorporated places to go and stuff. So it's a great, benefit to the community to have places like this, but also Regional Medical Center to be 50 years, that's pretty phenomenal. So that's all I had.
Now, that was a really good promotional meeting. Really good promotional meeting. I sat next to two people from Kansas City area, PA, and then another person, and it was a good time. I want to thank Michael Plank for coming out to Plevna Monday night. We had a good turnout there to talk about opportunities for housing and how to go about that process to apply for both NRP and damages. And there's a lot of good questions, a lot of good information handed out to people there. So thank him for taking time to come out to the Plevna City Council, and also for the radio for announcing that opportunity too. I had one question, maybe you can answer this. When I read the announcement regarding the economic development meetings, it mentioned something about 12 meetings, and I didn't know, they were all in Hutch. There wasn't any of them out in the county that I saw. And how do people out in the county get involved, how are they notified, and that these meetings are coming on?
I believe they're in Hutch for location or facility purposes, but I know there's different focus groups. They're looking at trying to invite people from other communities.
Okay.
So
Just
There is
making
a-
sure that those
Yes.
communities know about it and have an opportunity, whether they come or not, but have that opportunity. And I look forward to hearing those. And that's all I have. One other question I didn't, is there an opportunity, is that, I'll have to go back and look. But it seemed like there could save quite a bit of money on this project. We're going to a 3-point payment on the EMS, not EMS, but EMS storage building. Yeah, and I'm just curious to see if you might look at that, see if that's also a possibility. 'Cause it looked to me like it'd save some money over interest. All right, that's all.
Andy?
I don't have anything this time.
Well, I've got a few comments that people have been calling me on then. First of all, I'm glad we had representation over there at the hospital's deal. I wasn't able to attend. But I just kind of figured that, not that we didn't talk, but I figured you probably would. The other thing, I've got a little handout I want to hand each of you before you leave, and administration on what's going on with the battery storage stuff over in Harvey County. I have some business interests over there, and I know some people over there, and I think it's just good reading for us because there's a very high potential that we will have some issues here shortly because of the way things are stacking up, especially with some votes that have been taken recently. The High Plains Journal here, Trent Luce has a weekly article. Those articles are usually in the Rural Messenger. And he had, amongst everything else he discussed, he had a small item at the bottom of his article about no rules or regulations on certain things make them attracted to you. And we have no rules or regulations on solar battery on the western part of the county. And I think when you read how massive some of these problems are, when there are problems, I'll give this to you. You draw your own conclusions as to whether we ought to step up some action and try to do some protections for both the county and the residents out there. Because as of now, nobody has to do anything at all. We at least got some regulations on the zone part. It just scares me what might happen out there. And we may have to go a lot further than the people want there to protect the county's rights in the county. But I'll just hand it to you. You're all educated men, can read it, make of it what you want. But it was sent to me by friends in the area over there in Harvey County. That's why I like to attend those Quad County meetings. It was brought up in our last Quad County meetings that was going to be a heck of a problem for them. I can see it becoming a problem for us, so it's time to start educating ourselves on what we're going to do or not do. Along with that, I've taken some things up with Mr. Britton. There have been some complaints on noxious weeds, but that's a can of worms. It's tough as heck to address. Whatever you do is wrong. Too much, too little. Wrong people, right people. I wouldn't want to be wearing his shoes today. But just because it's a no-win situation. But having said that, that's kind of the things I wanted to bring up today. And with that, I'd say that part of our meeting's done. We do have
Commissioner, just a
executive session. What do
Yeah.
we need?
I will, just a quick note, when we passed the resolution updating the fireworks code, we said it was gonna be 2514. It's, Jenna Faker, messaged us, it's probably it is gonna be 2025-16. So just for the record, we're not gonna.
Do we
redo
need to correct
No,
it here?
You guys passed the resolution, I'm just making that note. If anyone's looking it up, it's gonna be 2025-16, not 14.
Okay, so we don't have to change the motion.
No.
All right. So that would conclude this part of our meeting. We have some executive sessions on our agenda that we need to address. And from past meetings, I guess, from past meetings, we do them one at a time and come back, or?
Yeah, yes, Commissioner, we have 3 different topics, and each different topic has to have its own executive session. Staff are requesting for the first one, an executive session to discuss matters that are protected by attorney-client privilege. The justification is for the executive session would be for the board to meet with their attorney and discuss matters that are protected by attorney-client privilege. We are asking for that to be from now until 10:37, and with the county administrator and the county counselor, maybe 10. We were just debating that.
Can we pull the audience? Do you expect any business to come out of this, or any?
We don't expect action to be taken today. They'll be done consecutively, so that you won't be back until, you'll be a little bit later than your 11 o'clock scheduled budget meeting, but you won't be doing any action. We don't anticipate action until for the rest of the day.
So if we're doing that, just in the interest of individuals, to hang around for the adjournment, if there's not going to be any further, you make the decision. You're welcome to stay, but that's your decision.
You're welcome to stay in the hallway, is what he's saying. But, but
How long will it be? About 45 minutes
yeah.
total.
How long?
45 minutes total.
Okay. Thank you.
So, thank you.
So with that, we're probably staying here then.
Yes, sir.
With a recess.
With a
Well, if
with
you
the
made
recess.
if you commissioners, if you made your first motion until 10:40, that would probably build in a recess, because I would like one too.
Okay, you want to make the commitment, or?
I can make the motion to recess to executive session for purposes, and you can say it if you want. You didn't send me anything, so.
I did. If you could just, I was trying to read it.
What-
If you could just adopt what my
What
my
Patrick,
request.
our attorney, has said
Until 10:40.
till 10:40.
Thank you.
Second,
I'll second it.
show of hands.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'll bring this meeting back into session. And just as a comment to you, no actions were taken in the executive sessions. And at this point, let's adjourn.